I do want to address one last issue, and that is just that it has been a pleasure to serve for 20 years. This is my 20th year, my 20th markup. And I got to tell you, the first markup I had, I was sitting way down there, Pete. And that first markup, several things happened. The first was, believe it or not, this committee voted to get rid of all women in the military. And it wasn't until we went to the House floor that we put them back in. Such a change in 20 years to a time now. And I know because my good friend Walter Jones was on the committee at the time. Mac, you were on. I think, Adam, you were on. I think it's just the four of us. And we put them back in on the House. Another thing that happened, and Adam, I don't know if you recall this, because we actually had Rod Blagojevich between the two of us, I believe, at the time.
We hope that doesn't happen.
But encryption. Encryption was a big issue, and I come from California, and you come from Washington State, and of course, our companies were on the forefront of encryption, and we wanted to allow tougher encryption to be sent out of the country in order for us to set the standard. And I remember you began to speak about it, and somebody from the top row called you a communist. So we were the only two votes that day on that encryption issue. And the last thing was that, of course, when I came here, it was a much different Congress. At that time, the difference between the number of Democrats in the House and the number of Republicans in the House was just 5 votes. And I came under a cloud because nobody knew who I was, and I got through an election, as some of you will recall. That was a very difficult election. And so I was set on this committee, and I went to pass my first amendment, which was an 8-sentence amendment about how the South Vietnamese had been by our side and fighting in the Vietnam War. And I remember seeing some on the other side rolling their eyes like, why does she even have to read this? This is a no-brainer. And Steve Boyer, I always got his name wrong, objected, took my amendment and put a substitute amendment on so that I would not have an amendment passed with my name on it. And the amendment passed his way without my name on it. And then I asked Mr. Spence, who was the chairman, a great gentleman from South Carolina, that I had another amendment at the desk. This was after a 1-hour debate on an 8-sentence amendment. And he said to me, Ms. Sanchez, is it different than the amendment you just put forward? I said, yes, Mr. Chairman, I've changed 1 sentence. And he said, do you have 100 copies? At that time, it was a 100-copy requirement. And I said, yes, Mr. Chairman, I have 100 copies. He goes, I'll let the amendment come forward. And Mr. Boyer began to object. And Mr. Spence, our chairman, Republican, looked at him and said, are you going to waste another hour of my time? And he kept quiet, and the amendment was passed with my name on it. So we've come a long way. Thank you.